Friday, August 7th, 2026, and this is The High Road, Logistics and Leadership. I'm Buck Reynolds, and I'm keeping these Silicon drivers in the right-hand lane.
This is Elena Rossi.
I'm Jules Sterling.
And I'm Dan Miller. We have a great show for you today.
Yesterday, we covered GXO record Q2 revenue, Port of Virginia rail service, and tariff refunds and anti-dumping duties.
It's a transition day, Buck. We're moving from the freight recession talk into some very real infrastructure shifts and regulatory hammers.
Look, the bottom line is that the scoreboard is changing for the second half of the year. Let's get into it.
I'll start us off with the industrial footprint. Daimler Truck North America just got the green light to build their largest U.S. plant ever, slated for 2029.
Largest ever? My thing is, are they actually going to build trucks or just more circuit boards that soak up oil like we saw in those PACCAR recalls yesterday?
Well, CEO John O'Leary is calling it a blank canvas strategy. It's a greenfield project designed for digital manufacturing.
That sounds like a diplomatic way of saying they're building for robots, right?
Actually, Jules, it's about flexibility. They want a single line that can swap between diesel, electric, and autonomous units without a massive retooling delay.
It's the ultimate onshoring play. While they're doing that, International Motors is cutting over 1,300 jobs in Ohio. It's a tale of two manufacturing strategies.
Ohio gets the boot, and North Carolina gets the shiny new toy. Sounds like the same old song to me.
If I may, Buck, it's not just about the U.S. map. Mexico is pouring $2.2 billion into the interoceanic corridor to compete with the Suez and Panama canals.
That's a huge shift for cross-border logistics. Sort of a total reimagining of the North American flow, you know?
It's a 2-minute drill for the supply chain. You either modernize or you get cut from the roster. And Daimler is choosing to spend now to win later.
Well, they better hope they have drivers to put in those seats by 2029. But speaking of who's winning and losing, Dan, what's the word on the money?
Here's the play. The industry is hitting a strategic paradox. Uber Freight just reported Q2 revenue up 25% to over $1.5 billion.
Wow! That sounds like they finally cracked the code, right?
Not quite. They still posted a $24 million operating loss for the quarter.
Typical. Growth at the expense of stability. Complacency is the precursor to catastrophe, and Uber seems to be stuck in a structural unprofitability loop.
Look, they've been in the red almost every quarter since buying Transplace. But then you look at RXO, and the picture changes completely.
RXO is actually beating expectations. Well, at least according to the latest SEC filings.
Exactly. Their revenue is up 25% too, at $1.77 billion. But they're actually profitable. Their secret? The spot market.
The spot market? You mean the Wild West of freight where I used to live?
Right. Their truckload spot mix surged to 42%. They're finding the inflection points in a trough market while the digital-only players are still bleeding out.
It's the transportation financial intelligence gap. The companies using data to predict the market, not just react to it, are the ones staying out of the claims office.
It's about relationship-based logistics, even in the spot market. You can't just rely on an app if the load doesn't move, right?
Amen to that. Hey, before we move on to this legal mess and the 4PL evolution, I need to remind you all that this show is powered by the stack developed by Eric Christensen at Neural Network Media.
Strategic logistics requires world-class engineering, and we certainly appreciate the work Eric does behind the scenes.
Support the architect behind the code. Visit our Patreon at patreon.com/Neural Network Media for a free trial and access to our daily briefing PDF.
All right, Jules. You were looking at how the big shippers are re-architecting their entire world. What's the vibe?
Well, Okay, the vibe is tariff shock. Today, the administration slapped 10 to 12% duties on 60 trading partners. The EU, Canada, Mexico, everyone.
Actually, it's a forced labor mandate trigger. It's already sparked lawsuits from 25 states.
It's a heavy blitz. And the polysilicon squeeze? A 15% tariff on chip and solar materials late yesterday? That's gonna force onshoring math overnight.
That explains why Daimler wants that blank canvas in North Carolina. They're seeing the writing on the wall, or the tariff on the port anyway.
And it's not just trade rules. Starbucks is testing a 24-hour inventory replenishment cycle. They want coffee moving around the clock, you know?
I saw that. But they also just killed their AI computer vision inventory tool because it was unreliable. That's a massive risk failure.
Even the big guys can't get the silicon to work right. A barista can tell you what's out of stock faster than a camera anyway.
The bottom line is orchestration. Shippers are moving to 4PL models because the rules change every hour. You need a quarterback who can read the defense.
Right? And speaking of reading the defense, we should probably check in on the market scoreboard.
Now it's time for the Big Board, our Friday segment where we break down the quarterly financial movers and the specialized lanes.
It's Friday, August 7th, and the big board is definitely looking heavy this week. GXO is completely dissolving their regional silos, Dan.
Huge move. They're ditching the independent regions for a global enterprise operating model. They want to focus on high-margin verticals like aerospace and life sciences.
That makes sense from a risk standpoint. Global uniformity reduces the chance of a rogue regional policy causing a liability event.
They already have $1 billion in incremental revenue locked in for 2026. And their GXO IQ platform is integrating autonomous trucks as we speak.
It's the verticalization play. Look at Cooney and Nagel. They're expanding their cool corridor with 4 new pharma routes.
I heard about that. Frankfurt to Atlanta, Chicago to Narita. My thing is, how do they keep the temps stable on a flight that long?
They're using their own controlled 747-8, Buck. It's an asset-right move. They aren't just brokers anymore. They're corridor architects.
Well, okay, so it's control versus capacity. K&N is betting that high-tech pharma needs a dedicated plane, not just space on a passenger jet.
Wise. Biologics and vaccines don't handle delays well. And speaking of dedicated setups, DHL just took over that Sandvik spare parts hub in Eindhoven.
That was a poach from Seva Logistics, actually. DHL moved 340 people over to their payroll to manage mining and infrastructure parts.
They're using agentic AI for inventory and auto-store robotics. It's about industrial resilience. If a mining drill in the CIS breaks, DHL has the part in Eindhoven.
The big board? That's a wrap. We're seeing the giants consolidate power while the smaller players are fighting for air.
And speaking of fighting for air, let's talk about the legal earthquake that just hit the brokerage world.
You mean the Montgomery decision? I've been hearing the guys on the CB talk about negligent hiring like it's the end of the world.
Actually, Buck, for brokers, it might be. A unanimous 9-0 Supreme Court ruling in May officially stripped the federal preemption shield.
The FAAA defense is dead. Justice Barrett basically said Congress didn't intend to stop states from enforcing safety standards.
So now a broker can be sued in any state if they pick a carrier that has a crash? That sounds, well, sort of impossible to manage, right?
It is a catastrophe for compliance. We're already seeing Penske getting reversed twice on appeals this month. The Montgomery factor is haunting every carrier vetting conversation.
Look, RXO is pivoting to AI-driven vetting to try and mitigate this. But if the Supreme Court says you're liable, no amount of code fixes a 9-0 ruling.
It sounds like a way to squeeze the owner-operators out. If a broker is too scared to hire a small guy, they'll just stick with the big fleets.
My thing is, it's going to drive insurance premiums through the roof. If you can't prove reasonable care, you're an open target for a nuclear verdict.
It's a mess. But let's look at the actual market data, because this is the real story today. Buck, you've been tracking the peak season reset?
Here's the deal. This is the focus of the whole day. We've had a 3-year freight recession, and folks, the power is finally shifting back to the cab.
The U.S. Bank Freight Payment Index is showing a 28% surge in shipper costs, even though volumes are down slightly.
Exactly. The carrier base is shrinking, capacity is tightening, and the peak season is hitting like a sledgehammer.
According to the reports, the Shanghai to New York spot rate is up to nearly $7,900 per FEU. That's a 106% increase year over year.
It's a trans-Pacific blowout. Importers are front-loading everything because they're terrified of more tariffs and those typhoons in Asia.
And the Port of Los Angeles just had its busiest June ever, 1 million TEUs. That surge is crushing drayage capacity in Southern California.
I've seen the lines. It's a mess. But the thing is, UPS is shedding capacity while these rates are spiking. They're trying to lean out right when the market is heating up.
It's the low hire, low fire economy. We're seeing retail job cuts, but the logistics sector is strained because no one wants to overcommit after the last 3 years.
So it's a structural reset, right? The carriers are finally getting some leverage, even if the broader economy feels sort of shaky.
My thing is, we're going to see a lot of folks get caught flat-footed this October. If you aren't locked in now, you're going to be paying out the nose for a trailer.
Speaking of being caught flat-footed, we have to mention the security side. Seva Logistics just got hammered by a cyber intrusion in Europe.
8 warehouses. They targeted order processing systems in the Netherlands. Major retailers like Bol and De Bijenkorf had to pull items from sale.
It's terrifying because they exfiltrated customer names and addresses. Your delivery data isn't just a shipment, it's a security risk now, right?
And it's not just the high-tech stuff. A driver in West Virginia just admitted to a $510,000 fuel card fraud scheme. Over $500,000.
Actually, he was selling the fuel card access without even buying fuel. It's a gap between operational speed and security oversight.
Look, whether it's a Dutch warehouse or a truck stop in West Virginia, if your leadership isn't AI native on compliance, you're leaking cash.
Only things I trust these days are mechanical gauges and a solid set of tires. You can't hack a tire iron.
But you can't run a 50,000-mile rail system with a tire iron, Buck. Speaking of which, that UP-NS merger is looking like a train wreck at the STB.
Brutal. A coalition of the biggest shippers? Chemical Council, Ag Network, they're all asking the board to deny the $85 billion deal.
They're arguing the railroads haven't been transparent about employee impacts. And with a $38 billion infrastructure funding cliff looming in the Senate, it's a bad time to be a rail exec.
I've said it before. Rail is the only thing keeping the system from seizing up. But these mega mergers just feel like a way to kill competition.
It's a transcontinental chess match, Buck. If UP and NS merge, they control 43 states. That's a lot of power for one board of directors.
And if the IIJA funding lapses in September, our highways are going to look even worse while we wait for these greenfield plants to open, you know?
It's a volatile mix. Capacity is tightening, the legal shield is gone, and the infrastructure budget is on a timer.
That's all for today's High Road. The market is resetting, rates are climbing, and if you're a broker, you better have your insurance papers in order.
Goodbye. See ya.
Later.
Keep your shiny side up and your data locked down.